I thought I knew my parents. I thought they were building something to help people. But I was wrong. Because the school's hidden wing, the one the staff never spoke about, wasn't just a clinic. It was a marketplace. And the product was children like Jaylen. This happened at Bellridge International School, one of those elite private boarding schools everyone dreams of. You see, Bellridge isn't just any school. It's where the sons and daughters of the rich go. Diplomats, generals, judges, business tycoons, politicians, CEOs. If your family name isn't in the papers, you don't even get a tour. We don't wear uniforms from shops. Ours are designed. We don't carry bags. Everything is on tablets. You don't apply to come here. Your parents buy your spot. It is famous for producing leaders with powerful alumni in government and business. Rich, connected, and untouchable. The school looks like a mini university. Big library, Olympic swimming pool, meditation garden. There's a golf course instead of a playground. Me? My name is Maylyn. I'm 10. I live in a mansion in Nairobi with a heated pool. My bedroom is bigger than some apartments. My dog is named Max. We have a home chef. I've never used public transport in my life. I have a driver. My dad is a big shot lawyer. My mom runs some health business I didn't really understand. I barely saw them. And they didn't just fund Bellridge. They owned it, piece by piece. And still, I was invisible. I liked it that way. No one sat next to me. No one dared. I read crime novels in class, took photos of things others ignored. They said I was weird, cold, maybe even haunted. I didn't mind. Until the day he sat beside me. He walked in late, holding a cracked plastic file. His shoes looked like they'd been passed down among 5 siblings. His blazer was faded. His socks didn't match. But he walked with his head high. He didn't look lost. He looked like he saw everything. And then, he sat down next to me. I heard gasps behind me. Even the teacher looked confused. No one ever sat beside me. He leaned in and whispered, "Sorry, I'm late. I'm Jaylen." And no, you're not as scary as they said. I blinked. Did he just talk to me? That was our first conversation. From that day, he made that seat his. And slowly, we became friends. I didn't know then that this boy would become the only person I trusted, or that together, we'd discover that the school we thought was prestigious was hiding a secret that smelled like blood. Jaylen was one of 10 students brought in that term through the school's outreach program, a program that my parents publicly launched. They called it a scholarship opportunity for gifted, underprivileged students. But everyone at school called it the experiment. The 10 kids were separated, different dorms, given old uniforms, served different meals. They weren't allowed into certain buildings. They couldn't join some clubs or attend weekend outings. It wasn't inclusion. It was containment. I remember once, during assembly, one of the rich girls whispered behind me, "I heard they brought them in for extra blood supply, in case we ever need organ donors." Everyone laughed, but I didn't, because that joke would soon feel too close to the truth. Jaylen noticed it first. He had a habit of asking too many questions, the kind you're not supposed to ask in schools like this. "Have you seen Bella in the dining hall this week?" he asked one day. I frowned. Bella was a small, quiet scholarship girl who used to read during breaks. "She probably left," I said. "No," he whispered. "She told me she was planning to try out for drama club this week." Then, a few days later, another one disappeared. No announcements, no farewell messages, no explanations. By the end of the term, 3 of the 10 were gone. One night, Jaylen snuck into my room after lights out. His voice was shaky. "I need you to hear this." He played a voice note from a boy named Brian, one of the disappeared students. "Bro, if you get this, I'm sorry. I'm not coming back. I saw something. They took Bella. It wasn't a teacher. It was a man in a lab coat. They injected her with something, then wheeled her out. She was awake. There's a place behind the kitchen, an old medical wing. I think that's where they take us. I couldn't breathe. Brian's voice cracked at the end. Don't trust anyone, especially the donors. Something's not right here. After hearing Brian's voice note, I didn't sleep well for 2 nights. And when I did, I dreamed of kids being sacrificed, of kids being wheeled away in silence, of Bella's small hand trying to reach out and being pulled back by gloves. Back at school, Jaylen and I stopped talking in public. We became shadows, careful, quiet, watching, because now we knew. They weren't just leaving, they were being taken. A few days later, I went home for midterm break. My mum was out, so I crept into her private study room. She'd left her laptop bag open. I told myself I'd just look. Inside was a file labeled Phase 3, Rural Urban Health Integration. It sounded like development work, but inside were lists, names, blood types, matched donor compatibility reports, coded medical reports. Many of the names matched the kids who had disappeared, and beside their names were tags: heart viable, kidney matched, liver approved. I felt sick. That wasn't charity. That wasn't education. It was harvesting. Back at school, things changed. People stared. Whispers followed me in the hallways. A senior boy said to Jaylen once, "Watch yourself, scholarship boy. Some people are meant to be left alone." Then one day, I opened my locker. There was a note inside: "Stop asking questions, or your friend disappears next." We knew we were onto something. We knew we were close, too close, but we didn't know how big it was, or how personal. Jaylen and I had agreed. Every night at 2 a.m., we'd meet by the broken vending machine on Block B's ground floor. No cameras reached there. No guards patrolled past the staircase. On our second night, we heard wheels scraping concrete, like something being pushed. Jaylen looked at me. Now, we followed the sound. It led us past the kitchens, through a rusted side door, to a hallway no one ever mentioned. At the end, a door with no label, no number, just chipped blue paint. But Jaylen had already heard of it. "That's it," he whispered. "That's the room Brian was talking about." The door was locked, of course, but Jaylen had swiped a keycard from a maintenance worker's coat earlier that day. It beeped green. Inside, it didn't look like a school at all. It looked like a hospital from a nightmare. Sterile white floors, flickering lights, hospital beds. Each bed had restraints on both sides. Freezers were lining the back wall. A desk covered in files. A table full of sealed organ containers. Some were marked as delivered. Others were still full. I gagged. This wasn't a rumor. It wasn't a theory. It was real. Bellridge wasn't just stealing childhoods. They were stealing lives. Among the files was a leather-bound logbook, handwritten. Jaylen flipped through the pages. Each name had a date. Each date had a match. Every poor child who'd left had been processed. He paused. May. He pointed at a line. Name: Brian M. Liver. 96% match. Status: harvested. September 12th. We just stared. My legs felt weak. "They're killing them," I whispered. "Legally, silently, for profit." And then, we heard the sound of a camera shutter. We turned. A man stood behind us in a white lab coat holding a phone, pale eyes and a scar across his chin. He didn't shout, didn't threaten. He just smiled. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly. "Neither of you." Jaylen lunged and knocked the phone from his hand. We ran, down the corridor, out the door, through the kitchens, past the dorms. We didn't stop until we reached the school library. the only place left open after hours. That's when I broke. I cried harder than I had since I was 6, because I knew that face. The man in the lab coat wasn't just anyone. He was our head of security, hired by my parents. I confronted them that weekend. They brushed me off. They didn't deny. "You're tired, Maylyn," my mother said. "Jaylen's imagination is bleeding into yours," my dad added. But when I mentioned Brian and Bella by name, they froze. I saw how they exchanged glances, my dad's tightening jaw, my mom's sudden shift in topic. "You need to stay out of this, May," my father said firmly. "You're not ready to understand the bigger picture." That night, I hacked into my mother's old laptop. I used her biometrics while she slept. I found a series of flagged emails under a folder labeled Phase 4 Scalability. They weren't about scholarships. They were about demand. Hospitals in Europe, clinics in Dubai, black market orders from unnamed corporations. Prices were listed next to organs. Children were cataloged like livestock. Even worse, some of the emails were signed with initials I recognized. MN, my mother. DK, the school's owner. RS, a hospital director in Nairobi. It was a global business, and my family was part of it. 2 days later, Jaylen was called into the head teacher's office. When he came back, his shirt was wet from sweat, and he was shaking. "They know," he whispered. "They told me to stop talking to you, or I'd disappear next." That night, I got a text from an unknown number. "If you care about your friend, stop digging. You have everything you need. Walk away." I showed it to Jaylen. He looked at me and said the one thing I didn't expect. "We're not walking away. Not this time." After that night, we knew this wasn't just a Bellridge secret. It was international, coordinated, funded by the rich, protected by silence. And my own parents were in it too. Jaylen and I made a decision. We wouldn't run. We would finish what we started. He had copied files from the secret room before we were spotted. Medical logs, transaction slips, delivery routes. There was one address that showed up repeatedly. Shipment Warehouse, 7 kilometers outside the school, off River Road. We knew what we had to do. We would follow that route, record everything, and bring them down. Even if it meant losing everything. Jaylen and I sat in his cousin's one-room apartment, the files spread out on the floor between us. Lists of missing students, blood types, photos, even signed release forms. Forged, of course, from poor parents who never got to speak for their children again. We didn't talk much. We were too scared. But we knew one thing. This wasn't a ritual. It was a business. Bellridge wasn't sacrificing scholarship students to demons. They were sacrificing them to hospitals, to wealthy families needing transplants, to people who could afford to stay alive at the cost of kids who no one would miss. And the man behind it? The owner of Bellridge International School, and my parents who funded the entire scholarship program. 2 days later, we followed a delivery truck from the back of the school. It left right after dark, like always. Jaylen borrowed a bicycle from a friend and we followed it on the dirt road just past the town's outskirts. No lights, no signs, just a cold warehouse. We watched the guards leave around midnight. We crept in. Inside were stretchers, blood-stained gloves, medical crates labeled with fake pharma company names, and cold rooms. One was open. Inside were 3 metal trays, empty, but stained. The other room had coolers, ice boxes, tags with names, not of donors, but of students. Some we remembered, some we didn't. Then I found a thick black binder labeled Outgoings, Project Silver. Everything was in it. Names, ages, harvest date, hospital destinations, even payment slips. Some were from Europe, others from Nairobi's best hospitals, Dubai. One listed a VIP transplant request in South Africa, marked urgent, young donor preferred. Jaylen flipped the last page. I saw it before he could hide it from me. Bank account, Maylyn K, executive transfer partner. My name. That is when I realized. My mother hadn't just funded this, she had named it after me. I couldn't cry. I couldn't scream. I just stood there. Jaylen took photos. I recorded videos with my phone, hands trembling. Then we heard footsteps. We hid behind metal cabinets as two men entered. One of them was the head teacher. The other? My father. The next batch is arriving next week. 5 new kids, my dad said. No loose ends this time, and make sure no one talks. I couldn't breathe. Jaylen held my hand so tightly I thought it would break. We waited until they left, and then we ran. The next morning, things moved fast. Too fast. Jaylen's locker was broken into. His cousin, the only family he had in town, was arrested for harboring stolen school property. My phone was wiped remotely. Jaylen and I were called to the principal's office. My parents were already there. They didn't ask what I'd found. They told me what I'd ruined. This is bigger than you, my mother said, calmly brushing imaginary dust off her sleeve. You don't understand what this is really about, my father added. Not yet. And the headmaster? He smiled, same way he did on orientation day, cold, unbothered. You should be proud, he said to me. You were always too clever for your own good. Then the police arrived. But not for them. Not for the school. For Jaylen. If it weren't for Jaylen's cousin, who had managed to send copies of the documents to a local reporter before her arrest, none of it would have come out. But the news hit fast. Organ trafficking ring busted at Bellridge International School. Authorities investigating Bellridge International School. Anonymous students blow whistle on international crime. Bellridge linked to illegal transplants across borders. The world heard us. My parents denied everything. They blamed rogue school staff and said they were misled. The headmaster was arrested. 6 guards disappeared. Some doctors lost their licenses. But my parents? Untouched. They disappeared from the headlines within hours. Too powerful. Too connected. They held a press conference and donated 10 million shillings to victim support. The next morning, I was booked on a flight to a boarding school in Switzerland. Just like that. Gone. Jaylen? They tried to deport him. But the public outcry was loud. Louder than they expected. He stayed. I said goodbye to him that night. He didn't cry. He just nodded. We did what we came to do, he said. But not everyone will pay, I whispered. He looked at me for a moment. They will. One day, because the truth doesn't die. It waits. We still talk. Every day. He wants to be a lawyer. Like my dad. Only better. Me? I'm just trying to unlearn what I thought power looked like. Because here's what I know now. They said we were too young to understand. Too naive to question things. But what they didn't know is that sometimes being young is what lets you see clearly before the world teaches you to look away. Sometimes I wonder if people ever really care about the poor, or if they only care when the rich speak up. Thank you for watching. Please tell me what you think about this video down below in the comment section. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more stories like this. Thank you so much for your support. Lots of love.